All right, guys, we're back. We're live for another episode of the Elite Development Podcast. And today we are talking about something that is likely to trigger a few people. But before we start, I want to reinforce the fact that I'm here to help. This is not meant to, talk down to anybody. This isn't meant to take shots at anybody. I understand everybody's situation is different. But my goal here is just to make you think. And today, we're going to be talking about money. Now, we're going to get into the show very quickly, but just as a quick reminder, guys, the goal of this show is to help athletes reach higher level versions of themselves. The goal is to help you in every area of your life and sport. So we attack mindset around training. We attack things about athlete lifestyle. We talk about so much on this show. And it's my goal to help millions of athletes around the world level up as athletes, level up as people, and build the dream careers that they're after in their sport. And so it's been my goal for myself to get more comfortable talking about uncomfortable topics. And money is definitely one of those uncomfortable topics for me. So that is why we are going to bring that to you guys in the show today. So let's get into it. And we're going to go here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're talking about money. Now, why are we talking about money? So, like I said before the broadcast started, my goal is to help athletes. That is why I started the show. We have over 260 episodes out now, and the goal has always remained the same. Help athletes build their dream careers in sport. Help athletes level up as people, level up in every area so that they can actually see their true potential and live out their dreams instead of having their dreams cut short due to limiting beliefs, due to mistakes in training, or any of those other things that we see often limit athletes and limit athletes' potential. Now, one of the biggest things that I see cause limitations for athletes is money. This is one of the most common objections I hear from athletes when they're talking about hiring a strength and conditioning coach, nutritionist, all these other things that they know they need that, they can't do right now because of money. And don't get me wrong, I get it. I have been that way myself in the past, and I still work through a lot of those similar feelings. So getting into this one, first, I want to tell a little story about myself. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've been coaching in some capacity or another since I was 15 years old. I won't go into the whole history, but basically I bounced around for a few jobs, ended up working at a big gym called the Athlete Factory here in Calgary. And then in 2019, I left there and I started my own company. So I've been running my own company for about 4 years now. And in the first 3 years, obviously we were working through the global pandemic and all of that. But in the first 3 years of running the company, I had gotten myself relatively established, which was cool. That was something that, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be able to build my own company and, survive and make a living off of it, that would have surprised me. I didn't think I had that in me, but through a lot of personal development, a lot of personal growth, I got myself established. And by no means was I raking in the money. I was making it through the month comfortably. That was about as big as I would say I got. And for a long time, I had the attitude about money that, I don't have money, money's tight. I don't have it. I can't spend any money. I don't have money to invest in anything. It's like money is tight and I need to do everything I can to save every dollar that I've got. And I say that because this is an attitude I see in a lot of athletes as well. And I understand it. So I was doing everything I could to grow this business beyond just making it through the month and, actually be able to put a little bit of money away. But I was doing it through that scarce money mindset of, I don't have money, money's tight, I can't spend anything, I've got to do it as cheap as possible every time, no matter what. Anything that I do, I need to find the way to do it the cheapest I can possibly do it. Now, in April last year, I hired a business coach. And when we were originally speaking over Instagram DMs, I told this coach the same thing. I had these goals for my business. I wanted to reach a certain income. I wanted to reach a certain number of clients, start upping the impact that I was having in my industry. And then he showed me a bunch of examples of like clients that he had helped do basically exactly what I wanted to do. And then he told me the price of his program, and immediately I laughed. I said, not a chance I can afford that. Like, it's way too much money. I can't do it. And then he asked me one simple question. If we were able to help you accomplish all the goals that you just laid out, would it be worth the money? And I said, well, yeah, because I'd be making more money. So in the end, the investment wouldn't be as important to me. Like, it wouldn't be as big a deal investing that amount of money because I'd be making more. So it would be okay. And I'd be impacting more athletes and I'd be doing all these things that I wanted to do. So yeah, if I was able to accomplish all those things, then for sure it would be worth the money. And as soon as he said that, then he said, okay, so is it an issue of you not having that money right now or being scared to spend it? And I looked and I, thought about how much I had in saving, and I realized it would be most of my savings account, but I did have the money. So it was more an issue of me being scared to spend it. And so he told me, again, showed me those examples of all these people that he had helped accomplish basically everything I wanted to accomplish, and said, so what are we going to do? And so I took a leap of faith and I hired my first business mentor. Now, in that time, so I hired my first business mentor end of April of 2022. And in the next 3 months, he helped me grow my business to triple the size that I had grown it on my own in 3 years. So I just want to say that one more time for those in the back. In 3 months, with guidance from a business coach, I was able to grow my business to triple the size that it was that I had been able to do on my own in 3 years. So 3 years, let's say 36 months. Now, so that would be 1/12 of the time, triple the size. And everything that this guy taught me, none of it was brand new, crazy tricks. It was a lot of stuff similar to what I was doing, but just done differently and done more effectively. And I remember on one of the calls that we had, this guy telling me, you don't pay coaches and mentors for the information, you pay coaches and mentors for the execution. Because this is something I see in a lot of athletes. A lot of athletes have the work ethic and they're very determined to do things on their own. They're very determined that they're going to do their own research. They're going to find their proper strength and conditioning methods. They're going to put together their own programs and they're going to get the results on their own, and they're not going to have to pay for it. And yeah, you can. The answers are out there. The information's out there. I got it from somewhere. But the difference is, think about it this way. If by hiring a mentor, I was able to triple the size of the business I had built in 3 years in 3 months, so 3 times the growth in 1/12 of the time, think about what that could do for your career. If you were able to put that investment down into a strength coach, into a nutritionist, into a physiotherapist, whatever else it might be, whoever else it is that you potentially need to hire, and they were able to help you grow as an athlete, if they were able to triple the growth of your career, so 3x the speed of your growth trajectory in the sport in 1/12 of the time that you could do it on your own, do you still not have the money? Because I understand money's tight. I understand you've got a lot on your plate. I understand that you're trying to pay for training. You're trying to pay your gym fees. You're trying to pay your coaches. You've got bills to pay. You've got all this other stuff going on. And I understand that the first instinct when you're speaking to a coach online, when you're speaking to, some sort of professional, is, I can figure this out on my own. But you also have a very limited amount of time to build this career that you're after. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. You just do. If you look at most professional athletes are done by what? 35, 36? So can you afford to take 12 times longer to make the same improvements than if you were to spend the money and have those improvements in 1/12 of the time? Ask yourself that. So instead of just asking, do I have the money to pay for this training? Ask yourself, can I afford to take 12 times longer to make the same improvements that I could make if I just spent this money? My guess is the answer is no. And the reason I say this, guys, is again, like I said before the broadcast, my goal is to help as many athletes as I possibly can in my career. And one of the ways that I know I'm going to do that is by starting to speak about things that are uncomfortable. And speaking about money is extremely uncomfortable for me because that was me for a long time. I never had the money to invest in myself. I never had the money to invest in a coach, a mentor, anything like that. And as soon as I did it, I realized that that was the best money I've ever spent. Why? Because it was an investment in me. I put that money down, and immediately that was the reflection on me of how badly am I willing to make this work? How badly am I willing to fight for the career that I want, the business that I want, the life that I want? And that was reflected in the work that went into this mentorship. A year later, and I'm running a business that I couldn't have imagined a year ago. And that is my goal when I work with athletes as well. From the strength and conditioning standpoint, my goal is that a year from now, you don't recognize who you are as an athlete. A year from now, you've made so many improvements that you don't understand how you used to have the problems that you used to have. All those little injuries that you've got right now go away. Your gas tank improves tremendously to the point that you're pushing a pace on anyone and everyone that gets put across the cage or the ring from you. You are at a point where you are able to move through the ranks faster because you never have trouble with injuries that you don't need to have. You never have trouble with getting out muscled, getting out powered, getting overwhelmed when you're in a fight. And I do that through information that I've gathered over 15 years of coaching. So, yeah, all of that information is out in the world somewhere. You can try to piece it together. You can try to do it yourself. You can try to, take a little bit here, take a little bit there, put something together and see if it works. But I guarantee you, by putting money down into a coach, especially putting money down into the right coach, let me make that clear, you are going to be able to find those results faster. And yeah, it's uncomfortable putting money down into a coach and trusting someone to help you with your development. But look at every top level athlete in your sport. If you're an MMA fighter, look at every athlete in the UFC. If you are a kickboxer, look at every athlete in Glory. Look at every athlete at the top level in whatever sport you are competing in, and they have a team around them. They have a team around them. And the reason they have a team around them is because this is not a career that you can achieve on your own. This is not a career that you are going to reach the highest level at if you're trying to piece everything together yourself. And if you truly want these high levels, if you truly want the next level, if you truly want the career that you are telling yourself you want, you need the right team around you. You need the right team around you. And guys, sometimes having the right team around you is going to cost you some money. And you can decide whether or not that's something you're willing to invest in. But I guarantee you, every athlete that is willing to put down financial investment into their future is going to rise above you. The reason they're going to rise above you is because they are willing to put more into it. Yes, I understand you're working hard, but if they're working just as hard and they have the right guidance around them so that they're doing the right things with that hard work, their results are going to come faster. And if their results come faster, when you two meet head on, they're going to win. So you can make the decision what you're willing to put into it. But I can promise you, the people who are willing to put down the investment are going to be the ones who win. Now, you might be sitting here saying, yeah, that's all well and good, but I don't have the money. So I want you to ask yourself, are you spending that money in another area. Because I speak to a lot of athletes that tell me that they don't have the money for training. They can't hire a strength coach if they wanted to. It's just not in the cards right now. But those same athletes are eating out every single weekend and, spending $40 on dinner every Saturday night without thinking about it. And if you multiply 40 by 4, now that's what, $160 a month that they're spending that they might not need to spend. Or they're buying a whole bunch of groceries and not eating all the groceries because they're eating out. Now that's even more wasted money that could be going towards that investment in your future. Or they're always wearing the fucking top of the line clothes with, the fucking pair of jeans that cost $180 and the hat that was $100 and something. Like, if you're spending that money in other areas, don't sit here and say, I don't have the money for proper coaching. Sit here and say proper coaching isn't that important to me. Because you can spend the money on whatever you want to spend the money on. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. I'm here to tell you that if your goals are actually important to you, then the money needs to get spent in the right areas. The money needs to get invested into your future and not into how fucking cool you look on Saturday night. The money needs to get invested into your future and not that extra fancy meal at whatever restaurant you decide to go to because you had a tough week and you deserve it. Because you can do that if you want to, but every dollar you're spending elsewhere is dollars that you could be investing in your future. And that same story, back to me investing in that mentor. The first 4 months that I worked with this mentor, again, as the size of my business was tripling, I didn't spend a dime on anything other than my business and survival, groceries, rent, that kind of stuff. And the reason was because my savings account was drained to zero. And I knew that if I didn't put the money in the right places, I wasn't going to be able to live month to month. And so I put the money down in the right places, and I literally mean zero. Like, I didn't go out. I didn't buy a beer. I didn't nothing, because the priority was building my business. The priority was investing in the future that I was after. And so ask yourself what your priority is. Are you willing to sacrifice the short-term pleasures, what you want right now, the cool-looking clothes, the fancy dinner, whatever else, for the long-term gain of the athletic career that you're after? If you're willing to do that, you are going to rise above the pack. If you're not, stop telling yourself that your goal is to be a world champion, because your action needs to match your ambition. And if you're not willing to put that kind of investment into yourself, you're not there. So I hope you got something from this. I hope it triggered you a little bit. If you are a little bit angry about it, don't be afraid to leave me a comment and tell me that I'm full of shit. But if you got some value from this, my one ask from you, as always, is share it with a friend, share it with a teammate, share it with a coach, share it with someone who's going to need to hear this message. Because as always, my goal is to help improve the lives and careers of athletes everywhere. And money is one of those uncomfortable topics that nobody likes talking about, but it's one of the most important ones that is going to allow you to reach above and beyond the career that you could possibly imagine. So thank you. I appreciate you tuning in, especially if you got this far. I appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.